And we're live. Welcome to the Foolish Tech Show. Hope everyone out there in internet land is doing wonderbar today. We've had typos all day today. And it's Proctor's birthday, so everybody wish Proctor happy birthday.
Tis. Happy birthday, Proctor, wherever you are.
Happy birthday, Proctor.
I can't believe
I know where he is, but
I can't believe he didn't tell us until he let Google tell us.
I probably, and you know what's actually bad is I probably could
you
have
two
told
should.
you I grew up with him.
Yeah, you two probably should have already known that, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely should have.
Yeah.
Tank should have, but I have less of an excuse than him.
I can barely remember my mother's birthday. It's all I can do to remember my parents and my sister. I don't know my grandparents.
His birthday
or grandma's birthday.
Well, see, his birthday is 2 days off from our other friend's birthday that we were tight with and around and after school. So, it's just like if you confuse them, that's one thing. But usually I do. But there he is, man.
My dad's birthday is the
but
same
on the first day, I usually at least throw
it's hard for me to
which is
remember
Proctor's.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, on the first day, which is Proctor's, I usually throw out something to both of them, but or I completely forget, and then I do both of them. I was just talking about saying and happy birthday to you, and I can't believe and Brantley said I can't believe he didn't tell us, and Google told us. And I said, actually, I can't believe I didn't tell y'all. And I even forgot. I'm sorry, man. I was thinking about it at some other point in time, but that was then.
On your birthday, I had to call your mom to confirm before I told you happy birthday. So.
Well, but you were thinking about it.
That's true.
Yeah,
Poppy, I'm not setting you outside. Go.
I was thinking about it too. It was just I knew it was the wrong day. Actually, I already knew because I knew your birthday.
No.
Or like I said, I sometimes would get it confused with Adam's.
Yeah, this is on the 17th.
I was telling them. Yeah, but
going to see Zoso on the 17th.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Have a great time.
Thank you.
I've got my dad.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd love to go. And
how bad is it that I don't know who that is?
Not
Zoso
that bad. I didn't know until they explained it.
Band.
It's a what?
Led Zeppelin tribute band.
That's what I was kind of assuming, but I figured like it was something else.
Yeah, so if you've heard me say like Zoso instead of Zoho lately, that's been why.
Okay.
Yeah. Soho or what? Anyway.
Whatever ho it is.
Soho. Zoho. Yeah, that's right. Zoso.
Yeah.
So Zoso is not only are they're not a cover band though, they're like a tribute band, and they are the full deal. They look like the people. I think they've had surgery, some of the people. Like the Plant guy's dead on. I mean, he's just utterly dead on. And I mean Page is even more dead on, but he even like puts the thing in his cheek like some shit like tobacco or something to like Page did. It's on stage. Their stage presence is just, I've seen them like 2 or 3 times, so their stage presence is just amazing. It's just like watching a video of Led Zeppelin.
Awesome.
Yeah. Except the Bonham guy didn't really look like Bonham, but that was the only thing. That was the only one. But he played the fuck out of them drums, man.
As long as he plays like Bonham, that's all that matters.
He plays better, actually, and that's one of the things. Like that's one of those things. Like it. Well, I wouldn't say better, but he does more. You know, he does more. He throws in extra notes here and there, or actually constantly. I mean, but not to where it takes away from the song, to where it actually just where it adds a little to it. But it's the only thing that's really different, I guess is what I'm saying. The rest of the show and the guys and the appearances and everything are spot on.
I saw Robert Plant this summer.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he was at Bonnaroo.
Oh.
He sang, I think he sang Dazed and Confused too, so I was happy.
Cool.
I might have been a little dazed and confused, possibly.
Right.
What?
I'll be honest though, it's kind of sad hearing the greats at their age, you know. And I've been saying that about Ozzy for years, but and it wasn't so much hearing because he's never really much to listen to necessarily. But Plant, like when I've heard, you know, some of the things that he's done in the recent years, I've been like, oh, gee, I kind of wish I didn't hear that.
Well, I know.
You know, like,
I thought he was on point when I was at Bonnaroo, but again, that was after a few days of working in the sun and then
right.
there. So
Yeah, of course. Now, I was thinking of he did
well, he's gone through a couple different
Zeppelin
bands. Like,
yeah, well, he did like a Zeppelin reunion. It was with Jason Bonham. And that had a CD and everything and like a
Didn't
DVD.
he do something with a bluegrass band or something weird like that?
I have no idea about that.
He did something just like.
I know.
Wow.
I was disappointed with the tribute band disc. I was disappointed with that, and not really because of Jason Bonham either. It was because of the originals.
well, I mean, I think that like there's no way you can recreate Zeppelin. They shouldn't even try.
Well, no, there's not. But you know, at a certain point, also, especially for a vocalist, it doesn't stay with you.
Unless you're Dio, that stayed with him to the end.
Yeah, okay, but it didn't stay with Plant. It did stay with Dio. You're right. That's weird.
I still thought he was on point on that time, but like that was probably one of
the.
I think that was probably one of the greatest band choices of all time is when they lost their guy. They broke up the band. I mean,
right.
Like, there's no way Zeppelin could have continued.
Right.
And that's like one of my favorite.
Probably not, because he was a big influence on them as well as a friend. So it was not a.
Well, it's like all four of them were like almost experts of their individual talent at the time. So like that's what made it such a good and big group. Like a lot of people would say that it wasn't blues, but it was like.
It was totally blues.
For what?
That's all it was.
It's people have a big opinion about it being true blues versus like the blues that Tank was looking for in Austin, the bar in the back with the guy and.
That's what I would have been looking for.
But
yeah.
Like that.
It's blues rock and roll, man.
It is, and that's what I was saying. It's a more ubiquitous blues where everyone could enjoy it, and they were able to reach that mass audience.
You know,
like
I was in
you
a
don't
blues
get that
bar.
popular without being somewhat good.
Yeah, I know. And you know, I was in a blues bar that I used to frequent in the hometown, and it a certain red variety Tank, and it used to have open, you know, they had like a Mondays where it was an open jam. You could come in and sign up. I never did, but the this one dude came in one time. His name was like Raven or something. It was weird. Excuse me, it was weird. But he played like the most progressive blues. It was like it was really Jimi Hendrix. It was Jimi Hendrix like walked in, and this guy was like actually I don't know, I guess he was Native American partially or something was his deal, but he played so awesome, and they didn't like him. They didn't want him to come back, and I was upset about that because they said he was too progressive. But he was playing like Hendrix style, just a
Well,
little
then
faster
that's
maybe.
like I consider Hendrix pure rock and roll. Like I don't think he was blues at all.
Oh gee whiz, man! You don't listen to enough Hendrix.
Yeah, he was definitely blues influenced.
Yeah, well, I mean, rock
But
and roll was based off of blues.
Well,
classical
yeah.
in the blues.
Yeah. But like I mean, everything I like of Hendrix is I feel it falls in straight rock and roll. But I think all of those, I mean, it's all more like opinionated. So
You're right, because I mean, you break down really any of the bands, you're gonna find
My
in
favorite,
rock and roll, you're gonna find blues.
yeah,
my favorite version of Red House is like one of the great blues songs. It's just is in every blues bar that there's like karaoke-ish, but with with guitars and stuff. Everyone does that, and that's awesome. He does the best version of that ever. But Jimmy did a lot of blues. So a lot of his stuff was, obviously not his, but blues songs or older songs, and he covered a lot. He covered a ton that people don't even realize were covers. A lot of them.
so
Well, yeah.
Buddy joined us again in the chat, and he said that the uninstall on the admin account still required him to perform the reg restore. So the issue from yesterday,
But
he tried uninstalling with the administrator account and still had the same issue with it not.
it says he tried to uninstall on an admin account. Does that mean still through group policy, or did you actually try to run it as administrator? Or was it? Sat through. We got the server back up. Let's. Okay.
What?
Did you check in? Did you see anything in the? Did you check into the install script on that issue?
What?
I will. I'll check into it.
Oh, the actual portion where it goes through the uninstall?
Okay, the actual. Oh. Oh dear.
And said it was through the control panel, but on the administrator account.
Through the control panel on the administrator account. That's not good. And you couldn't have checked. Never mind, Brantley, because the install script is coded. It's written on the fly every time. I think. Just gonna look into this. Hang on a minute. Continue on. I'm gonna check into this thing for a minute.
So, Buddy, he's checking into it here, and I'm actually going to do a test of the uninstall on my system with maximum plus beta settings applied. So, Proctor, did you have something you wanted to go over today?
I think I'm just going to kind of continue with what you started yesterday.
Awesome. I was going to do that tomorrow if you weren't going to do it.
He beat you to it. He beat
No,
you.
no, it's fine. I'd prefer to go ahead and get it out. I have some other stuff I can do for tomorrow.
It follows straight in with your dFunk stuff in the registry, just the file system aspect of that. So, and I thought that would be a good idea to continue with it.
Yeah. So just to give you kind of an overview there, Proctor, too, I was going to point out some of the differences between Vista and XP file systems and the symbolic links going back to it.
And 64 versus 32-bit and things of that.
Hey, do we have Buddy's email? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you can even talk about junctions in the file system. You could talk about all sorts of stuff. It's actually a broad topic.
Yeah, I might take a little bit different direction. I'm going to talk about various different file locations and how they relate to dFunk.
Buddy, I sent you a PM, so if you could just send me your best email in there, we'll get back to you with what we found out here. Perfect. Got it. So yeah, I got his email, and I'm doing the uninstall thing now. But Proctor, if you want,
Give me just a second. Somebody's banging on my door.
Oh wow. Look through the peephole first.
No, first slide the crate in the thing so you can get up to the peephole.
Which door is it, though?
Right.
Hmm. So I finally got my lawn mowed, which was wonderful. It's been weeks and weeks and weeks because of the storm and the hurricane and everything else. The ground's just been way too wet. In fact, it wasn't terribly dry when I did it actually today, but I didn't want to put it off any longer. I've lost way too many weeks overdue on that. So I'm very proud to say that that is accomplished.
Yeah, I've been waiting on.
Go ahead.
I've been waiting on pulling it out myself, or mowing the yard myself.
Well, the advantage to
Yeah, I've been
waiting
putting it off myself as well.
The advantage to waiting is that hopefully, I might even get a shot at being the last time before, the last time for the season. Because it's not going to be that many more cuts, I don't believe, before, especially if it remains as cool as it's been. We've had actually a very cool autumn, fall season so far. It's been a little bit unusual in that regard. Very wet.
Alright, I just ran the uninstaller and everything worked. It removed all of the policies and the protection.
That's good to know.
It set things to 0, it looks like, and basically I only have one account on here, so it is an administrator, and when I ran the uninstall, it uninstalled everything and restarted in between those. So I'm going to try reinstalling it again, doing some more testing. You Alright, I'm going to let that go. While we wait on that.
It is definitely configured to generate the install script with the same flag that makes it, that forces it as admin as the install. So if the install ever worked, the uninstall should work. Or if one didn't work, then the other shouldn't work. I mean, it's the same. They're both configured the same. So with the appropriate flag. So that much at least is good. However, this is not. I mean, this is it is revised every once in a while, but definitely whatever installer he has, it would be interesting if we recreated it. But when did he first get it?
Well, I'll have to use his. I can go back and use
Is
his
this like an
installer.
old thing, or is this like a new thing? Because I haven't like for example, I haven't updated I Know This app in a long time, actually, like a month at least, maybe more.
Well, give me a few minutes. I can get his installer and test it out. His installer specifically. While I look into that, I do have a interesting flashback from the beginning of Chrome time.
Oh.
I've been binge watching the Hack 5 old seasons, and I'm up to the 4th season, and in their episode 404, Not Found, it's apparently just like a couple weeks after Chrome had come out, and that's what's really fun about watching all these episodes that are old. It's like this is the time when Vista was coming out, and they had dual core processors, and like everything was like those are the big things at the time. And they reminded me of something that I don't think I knew, but I possibly did know. So first, let me share my screen here. So this is Chrome. We all know Chrome, and we know about the awesome task manager that they got in there. I think this was added after a few versions of it. So this thing is pretty awesome. You can sort by memory. It's a pretty good task manager. You can kill specific tabs of Chrome, yada, yada, yada. But they pointed out this thing, which I think what was the coolest thing about it, and it's just you go to about / memory, and it takes you to this page where it shows you the various browsers that are open and their memory usage. And what's cool about it is that it still works today, and you have Chrome and I have Firefox open. But what I also thought was interesting was that if I open up Microsoft Edge, let's just go to a web page here. It doesn't detect Microsoft Edge. But if I open up Internet Explorer desktop app, I'm pulling the window on the wrong screen again. Let me just go to a web page there. If we refresh this, it detects Internet Explorer 11. So they did something majorly different in Edge versus Internet Explorer so that Chrome can't detect it.
It sounded
There's
it sounded like just something was dangling, like the word was just like dangling, you know. I don't know how you.
I don't like the sounds of that. Yeah.
I have only had one beverage this evening. This is my first beverage, I swear. Oops.
Well, I thought that was a
word
cool
was dangling.
flashback there. Click that out there. Alright, Proctor, so you're back. You survived whatever you...
I survived. Yeah, it was Paul Castraba, John. He had stopped by to see if I wanted to hang out tonight.
Well, now the entire internet knows.
I know, right?
Maybe it shouldn't use like last names, I guess, but I wasn't sure if you'd know who I was talking about if I just said Paul.
I only know you know one Paul anyway, so I only know one Paul that you know. You could have said, "Hey, it's the Paul you used to bowl with,"
yeah.
And you could have even like pointed out the location. Hey, throw in his address.
Yeah.
His phone number.
Where did he want to hang out with you at?
Social Security, perchance?
Bank accounts.
So Michael getting in on this.
So it does look like you did update the full tool.
Tell him I said what's up.
Michael, can you check your messages?
I mean, John or Nick, it looks like you did fix the configuration tool,
Sorry, I was
so
going to to eat.
like you can
Okay.
have the same name and the same company name, and it doesn't affect it.
I
Just
did
wanted to throw
update
that out
that.
there.
Yeah, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, okay. There we
I'm
go.
not sure why you're still getting that error tank. Maybe they are using an older version. You may want to add into the beginning of that to make sure you're using the latest version of the configurator tool.
Yeah. 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 I mean, because you can see that potentially being an issue with people who have purchased before. I mean, and I know, like, if they're not in the system now, that doesn't. Well, actually, yeah, they probably would. Never mind. Never mind. Well, see, they'd probably be in the shop in the cart on the website, but they wouldn't be in. Man, I don't know. It depends, and people do. They also buy under different emails and stuff too. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed already, especially with like like they usually communicate with different emails and they buy from for one thing, and that's always difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
Or I mean, from like different domains. That's the issue.
Yeah. I've seen that.
But I mean, yeah, I've seen, and like people buy stuff too. I've seen people like buy stuff. I've had issues where I didn't realize someone was someone, and I gave them a new account instead of their old account, fixing that or whatever, because I didn't realize it was that person because they used a different email. So I mean, it could feasibly still be people that had the older configurator already
Fair enough,
downloaded.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that fix should still work for those people, so that email should be fine.
Are we going to allow
Okay.
Proctor to...
Looks like Buddy hopped out of the chat.
And he gave us.
He took
made
off.
sure we had his email so you can do some other stuff. So.
Now who's blink, 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 blink?
NetHunter's talking in the old chat, which I am
Oh my lord!
turning off notifications.
Yeah. I was just gonna leave, but I guess I'll just turn them off. That'll be fine. You invited.
No,
I can't
Michael,
believe.
you don't have any reason to be an operator. I'm not doing it.
What?
Because I want there to be a distinction regarding, who's with the company and who's not.
Well, just make.
Am I being fired? Is this my notification of firing?
No, but you're on the message of the day, so.
Okay.
You'll just have to deal with that.
Okay. Well, whatever. I like green next to my name.
Are you in there twice as Michael and Depario, or do we have a second Michael out there watching?
I don't know who APR is.
What in the world is this? Spam?
But Proctor, are you gonna?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the file locations where where malware may hang out, places where you might find malware on a system, and how dFunk makes those locations much easier to get to and to look at. And just let me explain what dFunk is. dFunk is a malware removal tool that is built into D7.2. You can find it, well, I guess based on your configuration, but I would find it under the malware tab, malware removal tab, and it is in my installation or in my configuration. It's labeled malware scan, but it could be labeled as dFunk. And it's not running.
It is. It's down at the bottom.
Oh, thanks.
Actually, I would not be paying. Yeah, it's popping under. I don't know why it's doing that when you run from the. That's kind of weird. But
I've almost always seen it do that.
And that's still kind of weird. The focus always returns to and it always depends on how things start up. But I mean, essentially, like everything now with D7.2, when it runs anything visibly, it should drop itself to the background. So it's almost like, what is the dFunk window doing? It's weird.
Well, you should
That's
be able to tell us that, but I'll leave that.
Well,
up to
I
another
should be,
episode.
but I'm rewriting it. I'm not even looking at the old code at this point. I mean, reference, but I mean, I'm not studying it like that.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm copying and pasting things like registry keys, that exist already that were hard coded, to go certain places. Those are the things I'm copying. That's it. So I'm not even paying attention to what's going on really with the old stuff.
All right. Well, the first tab in
yeah.
dFunk lists various different locations on in the file system where malware might is more likely to be. And what I want to do today is to show you actually where these locations are and explain what they do.
Do you mind if I hop in every once in a while?
Of course not.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I just, because I tend to run my mouth when someone starts going over dFunk.
No problem.
All right.
Well, I'm going to skip the Smart Directory Scan section of dFunk and move right into the user profile directories. But the user profile directories are locations where files specific to a user account on the computer are stored. And I want to show you where those files are located. I'm at the root, which means basically the beginning of the file structure on the C drive, the drive where Windows is installed on this system. It could be different than C, but normally it's C. This is a Windows 7 system, and on Windows 7, the user folders are in a folder named Users. In Windows XP, those the folder that the user files were stored in was called Documents and Settings. With Windows 7 newer, it's the users folder.
Vista.
I'm sorry? Oh yeah, Vista 2. I'm sorry. I forget Vista even existed. And within here, the Proctor folder is a user account on this machine. Other folders here, the public folder is a folder where if you put something in one of these folders, it's going to show up in all of the different from any user account on the machine. And in Windows XP, that was called the All Users folder. What can you find inside of a user folder? You have your personalized desktop, your downloads folder, your favorites. Your documents are stored in this folder. But kind of more importantly, user settings for this user account are stored in the app data folder. And this is a spot where you could definitely find malware in your system. Going back to dFunk, you'll see that it can easily take you to these locations on the hard drive without actually having to go out and look through the file system and find these various different things. You have your downloads, your desktop, the start menu for all the links to all your programs.
And of course, you're seeing multiple results there. Just wanted to point out that you see multiple results of the same name, but if you look at the path, the second line in the list, it's a different path. That's because all of these functions do check all of the different user directories and other directories where applicable. At the same, and put all those, they aggregate all of those results into the same list. So that's why you see things that look like you have duplicates, but they're really not. However, I will say if you delete one of the items in any of these locations of the user profile directories, it will delete it from all of them. Because why would you want to delete a specific thing from one and not all? So that's what it does.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. And then the next section is the app data file location. If there was anything in here, anything located within the app data folder that dFunk did not recognize as a legitimate whitelisted file, it would be listed here in the right pane. The startup folder lists the file location where any files located within the startup folder would start when Windows starts up. So this would be a good spot for malware author to put something so that it would automatically start when Windows loads.
And that's your start menu.
Oh.
You know, in the program, you know, start button, program, all programs, startup.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what that is.
Right.
But it's obvious also for every user, of course. But yeah.
So those are your user profile directories. Another directory where malware would hang out would be various locations in the Windows directory. And the Windows directory is where Windows is installed, and that is in the Windows directory of your root drive. And some of the locations in there within the Windows folder would be the System32 folder, System32 drivers, this is where driver files for Windows are located. This is a spot that malware could be located, and you want to check that. And you'll see here that dFunk listed a number of files. These could potentially be infected or could be malware. Looking at these, I know that these are all legitimate drivers that are installed on this system, but they're not included in the whitelist currently. You could add these to the whitelist if you know they're going to be known good on any system that you're going to run dFunk on. I try to limit what I whitelist just so that I don't run into any cases where it might be a malicious file on another system. I like to limit what I whitelist and take a look at more of the files.
Hey, you know what, Dumb? I just had to. Wow, I just had some ideas on that.
Ideas on
new options, man. Sorry. Yeah, if like for example, if a file is digitally signed and on the whitelist, it's still whitelisted. But if it's not, like you can flip a switch, and if the file's not digitally signed, for example, it would ignore the whitelist and then display the file anyway. It's like something you could do, just like switch on and off, a little checkbox.
That would be cool.
And probably a couple things like that we could do.
Yeah, well, definitely the more things you can have whitelisted, the less time it takes to go through the file system and clean the system up. But at the same time, you don't want to accidentally leave something in there that you needed to remove.
Yeah, and with a lot of people's digital signature files being hacked and stolen now, I'm not sure how reliable those are even.
That's not an often thing. That's not a very frequent occurrence.
There
And
were
usually
there were some
they're
big ones this year.
Oh yeah, well they're
There were some
always
big
well
ones this
being
year, like
too, but
big
they're always
companies had it.
yeah,
Who
they're
was?
generally fixed though. I mean, it's generally
Well, if
fixed
they
pretty
have
quickly.
a legitimate certificate file and they sign their software with it, there's no way that you can tell that it's not them.
Well, when Windows update, if enabled on the system, goes out with the update that says that's a bad cert, then
I didn't know Windows
mm,
had that capability or
yeah,
did that
yeah.
through updates.
They've been doing that, the trusted root certificates updates and stuff for a billion years. Since XP at least. I mean, probably before. I mean, probably 98 or some more. Yeah, obviously, yeah. I don't know. Whenever they started signing junk.
Man, I wish I could remember what company that was, because it was a large software company that had them taken.
Like Komodo, VeriSign.
What are you asking? What are you asking?
There's a big company this year that had
Oh, you mean the company's cert was stolen?
their software
Hmm.
their digital signing stuff was
Uh,
hacked and taken, and then
I
that
remember the
means
story, but I remember the story, but I don't
uh,
remember
uh,
the cert or the company.
yeah. So
that's not good.
yeah, and I can't remember it now off the top of my head in my
Yeah,
searching
it'll
skills.
come to us. It'll come to us. But this type of thing does occasionally happen.
Yeah. So yeah, that means that people could sign things digitally and it'd be bad. All right, sorry to interrupt again, Proctor. Continue.
Oh, no problem. You guys provide a lot of useful information. Another location where malware might hang out is in the task scheduler, and the task scheduler is a way to schedule tasks to run at a particular time on a machine. So this is another spot where malware could potentially run. The location where it's located is in the off the root drive, the Windows directory, and tasks. But dFunk allows you to drill down into these file locations without actually having to browse through the file system, which is the huge benefit of dFunk. You get all these locations in an easy to find interface. You can go through this a lot quicker than you could go out and dig through the file system to look at these files manually. And that's what D72 and dFunk are designed to do, is to save your technicians time and get jobs done quicker, allow you to get more systems repaired in the same amount of time that you would without such a wonderful tool.
Brantley.
Hmm.
It would be trivial to put a signed publisher filter on that digital signature thing with the white list override, because we can do that.
Hold on, PhilThex is saying that the video is down.
Uh-oh.
Our video is down?
No good. Excuse me. No good. Excuse me.
Didn't mean to break the camera.
No good.
Proctor, why'd you do that?
It's my birthday.
No, video's up, PhilThex.
It's just you, PhilThex. Listen, Google has had problems, and so we've all witnessed them, and We had it all. I think we mentioned the other day that it kicked us all out of a business meeting that we were having, and abruptly. So it wouldn't surprise me, but keep trying, refresh, all that good stuff.
Yeah, feels like from the video I'm getting, it's playing.
Keep trying, refresh.
So, it's weird. That is weird that you're able to get to the page, but you don't get the embedded content. That's very strange.
That is.
And Undertaker said it may be the Foxconn hat, so let's see. That's the one I was thinking of.
Foxconn, that actually sounds somewhat familiar.
Yeah, June 15th, 2015, Foxconn. Attackers stole the certificate. So, and that's how they hacked Kaspersky with it. Is they signed their malware with Foxconn's digital certificate, and
Wow.
Kaspersky just let it go by because it was digitally signed by them. So awesome! Thank you, Undertaker, for that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Something I inadvertently skipped over were the temp directory. Here in dFunk, you'll see where you can click here to see all the files that are in the temp directory. I wish I had something there, but this is a fresh install. But the temp directory is a spot in Windows where files are written to temporarily when they're needed, and it doesn't necessarily get cleaned out on its own. And it's also a spot where malware will many times where malware could be located. Sometimes you could possibly get rid of a malware infection simply by clearing the temp folder. So that's definitely a location you want to look at, and that's located in C:\Windows\temp. And
it's also worthy of note that this is only looking for executable file types beyond the hash scanning, so it's not going to pick up on the log files, etc. So and like you're talking about deleting the temp directory, don't just go in there and expect it to have stuff. Go to use the delete temp files function in D7, the internal function. It catches everything.
Yeah,
which like this will.
And actually, I'll post in the chat a link to the D7.2 under the hood, where it goes through what he does when he deletes the temp files, so you can check out all the in-depth locations that he actually goes through and deletes from for that function. So.
Right on. Good call, Brantley. I forgot I did that. Man, I can't wait to do another one. I'm gonna have to do on D7X.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, when I'm running a malware removal, one of the first things I would do in my process is to delete the temp files. But there have been a number of times where I've ran that in D7 too, and still once later on when I come into dFunk, there are still some files there.
Well, and that's because when you run some of those third-party apps, they place files in the temp file to run.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And stuff's going to get in there if you're actively fighting something and it's whatever.
Yeah, if it's hiding in there.
Yeah, or recreating. But and that's one of the exciting features that I'm happy about with D7X is rechecking on files to make sure they stay gone. Obviously, it's not going to work with a random file name, but it will work in a path, that's not the temp. Like I would do, like you could do a folder, and it would be like all folders in that one specific, like conduit and like program files / conduit, right? Like if you deleted the conduit folder, then what's going to happen is at the end of the session, if the conduit folder is there again, or anything is running from it, or any of that mess, it's going to flag you. Yeah.
That's awesome, because you'd
Anyway.
hate to think you got rid of something and it comes
Yeah.
back and it's still there when you let a system go.
Yeah, which can happen. I mean, if you're relying on something or you're missing something, you're not relying on something, you're just missing something, and it's one of those issues where the malware recreates itself through any number of methods, but it'll be some other executable generally. So at least you'll know. I noticed you didn't go over. Oh well, you're not done yet. Never mind.
The program files directories are another location, or other locations where malware might be located, and these are the locations where the programs you have on your computer are located. In Windows Vista and newer, that's going to be on. This is on a 64-bit system. Huh?
I love that Vista. Or no, like you had to stop and think. You're like, because you forgot it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I totally forgot those years.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about it, but like, oh God, I can just remember the massive Vista systems in that college town, man. Oh, that one.
Well, that's why I find it so funny watching those older episodes of Hack 5, is because like they like have Vista on their systems, and I'm like, oh man, they just don't know. They just don't know.
I still have a system with Vista on it.
Yeah,
I know, and he doesn't.
But can't we just sell him a new computer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the one I'm using now.
But
basically, the one with Vista on it is just a media center PC. That's all it gets used for, pretty much.
And didn't you say you have like no issues with that?
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with it at all.
That's amazing. It is
As a matter of fact, Proctor, you put it together for me. That's how old it is.
Oh, it's that one? Dang.
Yeah.
Undertaker said Vista is called blisters, annoying and painful.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I had a customer that I talked to before Vista came out, and I already pretty much knew it was going to be a horrible operating system, and I was telling him about it, and he's like, no, it's going to be fine. He came back, I don't know, 6 months, a year later, whatever, and he's like, I thought you were a moron, but you were right on the money.
Yeah, it is. It was a difficult time.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have any Microsoft people listening. Get mad at me.
They agree. That's why they came out with 7.
They're probably more surprised
to sweep it under the rug.
Problems.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. But I had the same experience with Millennium. I had Millennium Edition. I had Millennium Edition. I ran it for a couple of years. Really, like instead of Windows 2000, because of games. Like it was before all of the, hacked in support for games and this and that, and on Windows 2000 and before Windows XP. And I ran Millennium and it was fine. I'd never really had any trouble with it. I enjoyed still using DOS. I actually had it kind of tweaked out to where I could boot to DOS and do stuff or other.
See, that's the thing that really scares me about Windows 10 and them getting rid of versions, is because that's how we could always tell about Microsoft. Like, every other operating system they came out with was a good one. So, like, 311 was their good one. Then they came out with 95, and it was a great change, but it wasn't that great of an operating system. They came out with 98, fixed all the issues in 95. Came out with 2000 and Millennium, changes, but still not that great of operating systems. And then they came out with XP, fixed everything, great change, woohoo. Then they came
Fun
out
fact.
Vista, terrible operating system. 7, great change, fixed everything. 8, changes everything, not that great of an operating system. Now 10, great operating system. Sorry, go. Fun fact.
Oh, I was just going to say, fun fact, Windows 98 second edition was where it was at. That's where it was decent. 98, the first edition, was the same OS as Win 95 OSR2 or 2.5 or something, or it was something weird, but it was OSR2 something, maybe. And
Yeah,
it was,
there's some
or B,
variability, but
AKA Windows 95 C. It was Windows 95 C, also known as. There was a Windows 95 B, remember, that had the USB support. Windows 95 A was the retail box, I think. Then you
yeah.
had the 95 upgrade, and then there was. And 95A didn't have FAT32 support or something weird like that. I know it didn't have USB, obviously. Maybe
Anywho,
that was it.
but consistently, more often than not,
It
it's
was,
every other operating system. I think
yeah.
it still generally applies.
Yeah, but 95. But the fun fact was that the last version of Windows 95 and the first version of Windows 98 are basically the same thing.
Hmm.
And they basically are Windows 95 with a bunch of fixed bugs and Internet Explorer totally integrated.
Well, and I guess like that's the other
So,
thing too, that maybe that this will make a change in Windows 10 is that they're actually listening to customer feedback. If you haven't
are they?
checked out that customer experience place where you can send feedback to Microsoft, they actually tally those results and listen to them and prioritize their fixes and updates per that information. So if you find
Really?
something you don't like in Windows 10, they are actively listening to you and go in there, apply things. You can even share that. Like if you make a new thing that no one else has talked about, you can actually share that on your social media sites, and other people can go in there and agree with it. And the more results they get about that, the more likely they're going to focus on it and adjust and change. And they've been doing it since the preview builds, and all the way up until today, they're still doing it. So I do have to commend them on that, actually taking feedback and listening to people. That may have been what their problem was before, is they were just coming up with ideas, putting them out there, and then getting feedback on people on random places, and then making changes to make the great operating system next. So.
Well, I think their new CEO is taking them on a little bit different track than they have been before.
Why not? Because everyone has a bum build. It happens every once in a while, but when you have a crap ton of them, I mean, what does it really matter? And when you have a foundation built that you don't really have to, you know, you can just tweak on, which they think they have now. I kind of see the point. I'm really looking at D7 here. I look at the original D7, and it went through 10, went to 10.4.35 before the last version, and that was, I was doing like at least 100, more there at the end in the minor build in the revision. I was releasing them one at a time, and in a short time, because I guess it just shows how quick I was releasing, and that's something that I'm going to bring back with D7X. Actually, is I was going to mention was the I guess I'm going to call it the preview build or something. It used to be called the pre-release, where I would release a version that was not necessarily the best tested on all platforms. It was like the minor, oh, let me try something here, and oh, it works, and it works on this, and it works on that, and it works on that. But I didn't test in the 20 other situations that you could. There's also the the fix, that appears to work, that is not tested in that manner as well. So it's just like a kind of a, I want to bring that back because that was 0 day. That was 0 day fix for a lot of people. It was like, oh, there's a like an annoying bug or something, and instead of having to wait to test and test, that you could just push something out.
Nick, it's
What?
it's 5 and your son has a game.
I know. He's on my calendar. We've got to leave in 10 minutes.
Okay, because Jade was just messaging.
Oh. My Hangouts is weird. It's not like working properly.
Johnny says she's hungry and wants to get on with the show, so we should probably stop interrupting Proctor. So.
Well, I've been up since 8:30 and haven't ate.
Wah. I just want to throw out there, it is the Windows feedback, so if you search in your start menu in Windows 10 for feedback, you can go in there and promote fixes that you want to do and add new feedback. So, continue, Proctor.
Earlier, just a few minutes ago, John, there was something you were going to say and about where I was going with this, but you stopped.
If it was 10 minutes ago, he's lost.
Okay.
World was that,
All right.
Michael?
Well,
Michael wasn't. He just
I was
apparently
talking about
pasted something in here, and it's like a billion. What is this like? Well, I gotta read this. Is he paying any kind of attention to what's going on, Michael?
Nope. Sounds like
Michael.
No, I was just wondering if that was a good something for us to talk about before the show ends today. But
This is not a good time.
okay.
all right. I was talking about the program folders, program files location. It's the location on the hard drive where your programs are stored. This is a location that malware could be installed in. It is located off the root drive under program files on a 64-bit system. You're going to have program files parentheses x86 parentheses. This is where your 32-bit applications would be stored on a 64-bit system. Inside of dFunk, in the program files directory location, here is where the program files folders within the program files would be listed. And I wish I had some things installed on the system. You could actually see some folders.
if you do options.
Options where?
Right there. And enable custom file search for all locations. And hit rescan. Or yeah, you can just do that.
That's what I normally do.
You can disable your whitelist there. Since your own program files, though, hit that rescan. Yeah. Now disable whitelist is right above that in that column. Up 4.
You're also going to have to search subdirectories and include directories and results and stuff. You might want to do stuff like that,
Yeah.
for example, because you're probably not going to see anything otherwise.
Same column, checkbox 2 and 3.
Yeah. There is a default
That's
logic.
That's 5 and 6.
Oh.
That's 1.
There is a
2.
default. Okay, wow. There is a default logic to the options which was the old logic in malware scan. If you don't use the custom filter, but you can use the custom filter and see whatever you want in any of those scans.
Yeah. And myself, I actually normally have that to always set to enable so that I can make some adjustments on the fly while I'm working with it. Like if I want to be extra sure, I usually scan it with the defaults that it comes up with, then go back and set my own to scan deeper sometimes. All right.
I have an option to filter results, and that filters everything to whatever you type in there. But I was just thinking it would probably be better to add some like a thing you could like a text box, and on each new line it would be filtering out the crap like desktop.ini with a bunch of defaults like that, or like a little thing.
Yeah.
People could just one time little thing, because I mean that's supposed to be, you know, when you do that, it's gonna. I mean, that's just how it works. So you get all those results, but sometimes you want to see them all, but depends on the scan.
Very strange. I'm not able to recreate those issues even with his custom installers, but we'll have to talk more about that offline.
I wonder if he's got some. Well, what is it like? Are
Well,
these all in the same like domain and stuff?
Yeah,
There might be some
I'm
weird
not testing in the.
policy.
I'm going to try it in a domain environment and see if something else is different. So.
Well, I wouldn't think it would be just a domain environment. I think there's something in his domain environment that might be different.
That's possible. All right, so we got those. I think we covered most everything on the file system sides.
Yeah.
Can you go to your C drive? There were a few things that I wanted to point out just to make sure some newbies knew what all this stuff was.
Newbies.
So the biggest things I wanted to point out were, like you see documents and settings. You're not going to be able to double click and go anywhere with that, but basically what that is a junction, and it's also known as symbolic links in other operating systems. But what that does is it programmatically links back to the users folder, because Windows XP and prior, all of your user information was stored in documents and settings, and a lot of programs hard-coded that information in, so they would say look in documents and settings, the user folder, and then the app data for something. But since they changed that in Vista, Microsoft had to have a way to be able to have legacy programs that were hard-coded like that be able to link back to the new and updated one, and that's what they decided to go with, was to put in junctions so that it linked to those locations. You won't be able to do it from your file explorer, but if a program searches for C:documents and settings, it actually takes it to C:user. So that's a good thing to point out there. Also, there's some other differences with the 64 and 32-bit operating system in the Windows folder, and those are things like the System32, I think, has two sections. Yeah, they have the syswow 64 and System32, and I forget exactly what the differences are there, but there are some differences for the 64 versus 32-bit stuff. So, and I think that's about it. And really, with dFunk, the idea of where I got Nick to add in this file system side of it was because I was going through and cleaning out systems and ran through all the scans, ran through everything, ran through malware scan as it was prior to version 7, and still I would find myself having to go into places like the start menu and clear out any dead links or something like that, because your malware scanners don't look at those as malicious files, and nothing else removes those from the start menu. So a link might be in there that any program or malware or antivirus isn't going to remove. But if you have a customer going in after you return their computer and they go to the start menu and they have all these dead links and weird programs and things that you told them were viruses still in there, they think that that's a problem. So I was always normally going through my customers' computers and going through the file system and cleaning up any leftovers like that. They're not truly malicious files, but they're things that...
Say good night, everybody.
Later, Nick.
And
Later.
maybe I need to talk with you later about the future of the release this weekend. Later.
Okay.
Laters, y'all. Thanks.
Later. Good.
Laters.
Tell your son
Later.
good luck.
He'll watch it later.
And okay then.
So that's really where this file system inspection came in, is because I wanted to stay inside of D7.2 and get everything done while I was in there. And that's one of the reasons too, while I'll go ahead and open up dFunk at the beginning of all my other scans, is so I can go ahead and clear out some things that I know right away are bad and don't need to be scanned or wasted time on. So definitely a good option there. It's not for everyone, especially if you're just setting it to run and come back to later and work on it like that. But yeah, it's a very, very helpful feature in dFunk to be able to go through and clean out the file system for things that aren't malicious but just are left over or shouldn't be there anymore anyway. And Proctor's pointing out the folders menu in D7.2 where you can actually set it to go to those specific folders, and you can add your own custom ones in. And these are ones that you may need to get to for various purposes and reasons. I liked that, but the list of ones that I had were like the list that's in dFunk now, so that list was basically like half of the screen if I set up that menu to do it. So that's why I got him to put it in dFunk. So we can also have some scanning options and whitelisting features so that we don't have to see things that we don't need to see anymore, basically. So.
But it's nice to have that shortcut there in D7.2 so you can get to those locations quicker.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I think that pretty much covers most of the file system. I know we missed some intricate things here and there, like where the app data is for users versus the system, and like various little things like that as techs you probably should know. And like the differences between what local, low, and roaming are, and there's a lot more intricacies, and you could really spend a few hours on the file system with Windows and how they have things set up and how they link to various locations, and then environmental variables going into those. So tons and tons of things to go over there, but I think we've covered most of your basic items that you want to keep aware of. If you didn't see the show yesterday, we started off on some other things that were probably good to know, so definitely check out that show yesterday. And we may end up coming back to this file system one later, as well as getting more in depth into the registry later, but I think our next pure training one might be to go over some other things. I'm trying to think. I'll come up with a good one next week for training new texts type style stuff. But all right, anybody else got anything?
What's on tap for tomorrow? We know.
I do. I got a couple things I was thinking about. I was thinking about doing SSH tunneling, so you can see how you can encrypt stuff. Possibly doing how you can set up a torrent machine to torrent things that aren't illegal, and some various things that you can do for keeping your privacy and things on those side of things. Since Michael had that great VPN thing earlier, I think this will kind of build on it. And I think
that was a good segment. If you missed it, go back and watch that segment that Michael did on VPNs. It was
thank
had
you,
a lot of
guys.
useful information there.
I believe it did.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, like Michael's location.
Yeah.
No, that's not the point of the show, guys. And thank you for editing.
Keep an eye out for his IP address.
No, guys. I'm on the VPN always now, by the way, so.
And I went out and indulged, and I'm gonna have a Raspberry Pi coming in tomorrow, but I think it'll be after we start the show, so that might be the following week's Friday.
Oh, a Pi 2.
I've been in play with one of those.
Yeah, and that's what I've really wanted it for, is just to have a Linux box that's usable. My EPC is my Linux box, but I have it set up as my fish tank, my digital fish tank here, and it's also crunching some steady working. So I wanted to have something that I could just play around with some of the Linux server stuff, and that's what I'll end up setting up that SSH tunnel for, so that I can also be on a VPN and then also further encrypt it through SSH tunneling to remote desktop in and things like that. So lots of good information coming along that way. So be sure to check out tomorrow. We'll be on at 6 p.m. Thanks. Oh, PhilThex has a Pi. He uses them all the time. Yeah, we actually have a friend in Chattanooga that uses Pis to set up those advertising televisions. So he'll use a Pi and then hook it up to a TV and sell it as a whole package. So another good thing if you're out there in the tech industry and looking for some supplement income, those are super easy to set up, super simple to configure, and basically just have it on a loop showing off some advertisements. I know you've seen them in doctors' offices probably, at least here in the U.S. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but you'll walk into the doctor's office here in the U.S. and you'll have a board that'll show various things like the appointments of the day or things that come up and do things. So yeah, so all kinds of things, and PhilThex apparently has a few things. He's got one for digital signage, and one is a media player, and yeah, there's tons and tons of projects out there. If you get a Raspberry Pi, just search for Raspberry Pi projects, and you'll come up with some pretty awesome things too. I think you can build a microwave where you can have like voice control commands. It'll tweet you when it's finished, and all kinds of crazy things like that too. So household ad blocker, security camera, awesome. Yeah, PhilTech's got a lot of stuff going on with Pi, so he may be able to add some more things to the show on that. Like I said, it's not going to be tomorrow because I won't have it until after the show, but we'll do it on the following week probably. So yeah, so I was a little disappointed. I was kind of hoping that a Raspberry Pi could be my internet gateway, but it's connecting its Ethernet ports via USB, and that's not recommended. And plus, the processing and RAM power just aren't there for doing the full gateway that I would want to do with Squid and things like that. So
the box I got was perfect. The mini box that I got was ideal for actually that purposes, particularly in light of the fact that it built in 2 gigabit ports.
Yours was like 400 or 500 though, wasn't it?
Well, right now it'd probably be closer to 200.
Yeah.
What do you have, Michael?
It's a I think it's an ECX mini box. It's got a quad core. I believe it's actually a Celeron or something like that in it, but it's totally. There's no active cooling in it. It's total passive cooling, and the box measures about, I would say, 1 inch tall and about 3 inches by maybe 4 inches otherwise. And it's got 2 gigabit ports. You can have up to 4 gigs of RAM in it. And it's got a micro SSD slot. But you can also mount a 2.5-inch hard drive in it, which actually I have currently, but right now the price of something like a 64 gig SSD is incredibly inexpensive, so may just end up putting something like that into it, because there's no reason I need large amounts of space, because I'm running Linux on my box as well. The other cool thing about it is that the wireless and the Ethernets are all supported very easily and readily with Linux on my box as well. So it's got a lot of pros. It's not ideal, and it's not the best. Microsoft has come out with the new, or not Microsoft, excuse me, Intel has come out with the new generation Skylake-derived new core chips, and they've refreshed their lower lines as well with those. So those are built on a smaller process, manufacturing process, and therefore use less power, and can even provide, in some cases, some performance enhancements even over my quad core. But so there's some more options for you. But those types of things, they're not the cheapest necessarily, but
All right, let's save this for your show next week if you want to get more into it. I just wanted to throw out there before we wrap everything up here, if you haven't joined us at foolishtechshow.com or foolishit.com/live, you can watch our show and join our IRC chat from there. If you have a web browser, you can just go to irc.foolishit.com/:443, and you can access a quick web client through there if you're on the lockdown firewall or network or something like that. Most everyone can access it through there, or if you have your own IRC client and want to connect, you can connect at irc.foolishit.com. And we will be hanging out in there, so definitely feel free to drop in, come by, and talk to us there. We're going to be expanding the IRC stuff to help in other sections and possibly grow a little community there as well. So, all right, I think we should go ahead and wrap up the show. We're way past our hour mark, and we had a lot of good content today, and we will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. So anyone out there watching, feel free to join us tomorrow. And yeah, happy Thursday. Later, internets.
Laters.
Laters.
Later.